Good evening. I'm Epstein with your SPDR ETF stock market wrap-up, and this wrap-up is for the evening of Wednesday. We're at the 11th of December, 2024, and what an interesting day. You know, it was all about CPI today. So the CPI came out, let's call it mild, all right? And what I mean by that, it was a little hotter than the markets were looking for by a tenth, all right, of a basis point. Nothing. And the market took that to mean that even though we've now had in some of these, in this area, 4 months almost of rising inflation, it's rising at a minute amount. So it fits into what the Fed called the bump in the road. So what the markets decided to do when they saw it is they decided to say, nah, that's not enough to stop the Fed. They're going to go 25 basis points December 18th. They'll do nothing in January, and March is another live meeting they'll take a look at. If you go look at the probabilities on the CME Fed Watch, I'm not making this up, just go look at the probabilities, and that's at least my interpretation of what's going on. When we come in the morning, we're going to be talking about first my special report on the stock index. It's going off the board, off our website tomorrow. So if you haven't seen it, you want to see the different dates of the Santa Claus rally in the S&P, how it is done going 50 years back right through 2023 on 2 different ways to look at it. I think you'll find it fascinating. It's all based on the data of that. That's what this report is. So go to iraepstein.com, or you can move a cursor at any time up there if you're watching it on your PC. Now, the data you're going to get tomorrow, and this is where it's at right behind me, jobless claims come out at 7:30, and so does the PPI. Everybody will be glued to the PPI. But with the CPI doing this and giving the market what it wants, I think it takes one of these a back seat a little bit. And regardless of the number, unless it's a surprise that is so big, which I can't imagine, that it negates the CPI, I think the market's pretty well locked into what it expects the Fed to do, and that's what I think the Fed, in fact, will do. But pay attention, they're expecting it up about 0.2. The EI natural gas storage report will come out. Now we'll see what this cold bout of weather that we've had in different parts of the country is going to do. And right now it is really cold in the Midwest. So you're definitely burning up some of that product that you need. When we take a look at the markets as a whole right now, QQQ, the huge gainer, all right? So I know my clients are very happy at this point in time. They're not always, but that's a play we definitely caught. Amazon's nonstop. I'll tell you another one, Netflix. I think you got to gear in that you're going to hit $1,000. That's my guess in 2025. Home Depot not getting very much in the way of a bid right here. I guess people aren't buying that. You know, I like ARK, but I'm thinking ARK W is going to do better than ARK itself. I like the makeup of ARK W a little bit better. I'm probably going to do some coverage of that starting soon. AMC, I've warned you, be careful with these movie theaters. I just don't like what I'm seeing, you know. In uranium, did you see today's CNBC? The whole day was devoted, now when I say the whole day, the special of the day was in Canada at, is it Comco, I think it is? And they went down in their mine. Do you have any idea how deep this mine goes? It's 160 stories down. It's a uranium mine, one of the largest in the world. And how they do the mining for it, it's not what you think. There aren't miners actually doing it. It's robots that are actually doing a lot of the mining. But their commitment is way out. And as much as they can mine is already been sold. And a lot of this goes through 2030. So you got to pay attention to what you hear when you see all this. So when people say you're not going to do it, okay. Now, you can see where the price is. Now, I saw one of the people, I think it was from Stifel Investments today, and he was saying he'd bet while he's alive that, I think it was him, I'm not sure, I know it was right at that time, that he's not expecting the U.S. to pass anything that will allow uranium, a new uranium facility to be bought. In other words, to create that. I don't know if that's right. I would think it's wrong. And just because, why can't you build smaller ones? Near grids that there is a grid there, but not a large population. I question it. I don't know enough about it, but uranium's on fire for a reason. The gold, silver markets, they're coming alive. Now, China's meeting right now. So today and tomorrow are their 2 days of meetings where they're going to tell you out of them what they're going to do to support property, the loosening of the monetary policies, making money easier. What are they going to allow the yuan to do? Because the word there, as you look at it, you know, it traded when President Trump was around as high as 7.2. In order to counter the tariffs, they may let it go to 7.5. So that's one way they can counter what's done, because anything you buy via yuan is going to be cheaper. So different ways to look at how this is all going to play itself out. And Tesla, another $23 in gains. So what does that make Elon Musk worth today? The estimates are now $400 billion. The first individual to hit that plateau. Can you imagine? Realize what he makes every day on interest? Just think that through, and what kind of wealth this is that he's got. And that's why him butting up with Trump, you got money now, you got power, you got brilliance. It's interesting. So Oracle, as I said, are we going to fill this gap? You've already filled one gap on the charts, so I'm content with that. I think it'll work. It's got to do some work here. You destroyed the chart picture. And when you do that, you just don't go from, it was great and now it's not great, and suddenly it's great again, all right? Now it needs more work than that. So I think this is a chart in work. That's what I think. And I think it'll have difficulty as approaches if it can do that, and I think it will. The 18-day average to the low in the day that we made the peak. Momentum down. Trend void, higher high, lower low. XRT, well, Christmas. Hey, if it's Christmas time, these are the retailers. You saw today that Macy's took a big hit. They lost $150 million, and I still question how. How could they allow, and where's their auditors, to not pick up that $150 million, and I think it was shipping costs? Something to me, as they explained it, I'm having a hard time with that explanation. And the market's punishing Macy's for it. Higher lows, higher highs, still holding on. Will Macy's have to sell maybe Bloomingdale's or something? Why not? And by the way, are you watching what's happening with all the drug store companies? Now the government has decided that they're going after the idea that healthcare companies should not be in the drugstore business. Okay. Can they be in the drug business, though? I don't see why they can't do that, but I don't know. I know my own, when I get pills, I get them online through a company that is absolutely affiliated with United Healthcare. So is that going to stop? I don't know. Got to see more about this. Higher high, lower low, fighting a big battle now at the 18-day average, which is exactly what I told you to expect. But I think this stock is in great shape. I think all the problems back here are behind it. It's done. That whole break that we saw in the market, and now it's brighter days ahead. I guess this was the big break. It was into the August. Remember when that happened? So nothing wrong with the product. All right, Rivian. I read an article today that on the electric cars, the two that have the most problems are the truck from Tesla and Rivian's trucks. Interesting. So quality's not quite there. Doesn't mean I don't like the companies, plural. I'm looking here. I'd love to see if the market gets down there, and then I'm very interested in it. Not interested in buying an overbought market unless it embeds and gets away from that, and not into the upper Bollinger Band. In K-Web, why do anything until you know what China's going to, number one, say, and number two, the market's reaction to it? You stand in front of that train coming down the tracks and jump quick enough. I'm too old to do that. And Toll Brothers, still getting smashed. Now, this is a stock that was just pushing the 170 level. You've just dropped $29 a share. So that's not just a correction. There's more going on here. That's really a market that just got smashed big time, and the other home builders are getting smashed. Take a look at is the group. So now you're back into the bearish action. You're too oversold for me to tell my clients that I think they go short against that number, but owning it, no. Financial services, well, so far it's just a pullback, nothing more than that. And that's because you've got the sideways action in the Bollinger Band, and you're just churning inside of that right now. You haven't broken out to the upside or downside. You had pushed on the band, then went sideways into the 18-day average, and you're just sort of sitting at this point. Do I like the chart? I still do, yes. In industry, the industrial sector, oversold, big down, got to still wait, not throwing out any buy signals at all. Energy's in problems. These are, remember, the refineries and the drillers and so on. That's what makes up this part of the energy sector. Not doing well. Very close to embedding for saying it's going to have problems for a while. This is not the place to be. Be careful with that. In GLD, it is the place to be. It looks to me like gold is going to continue to try to go up. Do yourself a favor. If you have access to historical charts, go back and look what gold typically does from mid-December until the beginning of January, and take a look at silver as well. They both generally do very well to the upside. So that's what I think there. Copper, it's going to be tied to what China does. Gold is too. You know, gold's up a lot of this, not because of U.S. inflation as much as the fact of what in the gold? China. They came back, and in November they started buying. They'd been out of the market for 6 months. Well, if they're not going to do business with the U.S. and they got these reserves, where they're going to put them? It's one of the areas. BND acts like it wants to come back, down into the 18-day average of closes. UUP, sideways action. Whenever you see the Bollinger Bands going like this, just start spinning your finger, because that's what it means. Ideally, you'll have just this pattern too. Higher lows, higher highs, and FXC's doing the same. Why go into the FOMC meeting coming up? And let's get behind us tomorrow, and it'll be first thing in the morning at 7 in the morning. We're going to know what the European Central Bank is going to do, and then we'll hear what the Swiss bank is going to do. So, interesting day. Take advantage of learning. Remember, you can move your cursor up to the top here. There'll be an icon. Take a look at iraepstein.com and our stock report, and I'll pick up with you all in the morning when I do my morning flash update, and by then we'll have all this information we just talked about ready to discuss. You have a great evening.